on the August 2025 What's Neat.
We look at Tom Thompson's layout. He lives in the suburbs of Chicago up there. When we were up there visiting Lombard Hobbies, we got to see his layout. The What's Neat Show is sponsored by Lombard Hobbies, your value hobby shop for over 40 years of modelers helping modelers. Big inventory, value pricing, fast shipping, and great service. And by Broadway Limited Imports, the cutting-edge leader in model trains. Check out their website at broadway-limited.com. And by Bachmann Trains. Now that's the way to run a railroad. Check out their website at bachmanntrains.com. And thank you for helping us support the best hobby in the world. This is What's Neat for August 2025. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, and this month we've got a good show. First of all, thank you in readers' comments. I want to say to all the folks that have enjoyed watching layout construction. There's a lot more projects that are going on around here, and I'm looking forward to the progress. I have got some really cool stuff going on this month on the show. First of all, we look at Tom Thompson's layout. He lives in the suburbs of Chicago up there. When we were up there visiting Lombard Hobbies, we got to see his layout. And he models the Albuquerque Division, 3rd District. Literally models one day on the Santa Fe Railroad in 1954, specifically all the consists across this one portion of railroad that he models. An absolutely amazing individual and an amazing layout this month on What's Neat. Also this month, we do some more construction around here in that I make improvements to my spray booth. Primarily, I wanted to take the motor and move it outside to help quiet down the studio down here because it was pretty noisy all the time. But also we experiment with another type of blower that may be best suited for the weekend warrior that just airbrushes once in a while. It vents out about 160 cubic feet per minute. So we cover a couple of different things this month during the process of me building this improvement to the spray booth, which of course I walk you through that entire process as well. Also this month, I want to show you something really beautiful here. I've got this Pennsylvania Railroad. In fact, it's on my screen right here. This is a B6sb 060 locomotive, number 1678 from Broadway Limited Imports. This is a little gem. I shot this outside. The photography is absolutely spectacular on this thing. It's just a little engine, but it's mighty. Look at the slope of the tender on this thing. And all the lights on it, all the little marker lights, everything lights up. I ran it on the layout today. In fact, it's been running down here now all day at about 9 miles an hour. And it's just a sweet little model, pulling a few freight cars. Perfect switch locomotive for the guy that wants to do that type of work. So yeah, look forward to that. Also this month, I do a segment of video on something really nostalgic, and that is the Bachmann Plasticville gas station. This is one of those models where probably most of us young model railroaders got gas for the first time. Via our Matchbox cars, I know I did. This is a classic model, and this month we do something a little fun. We've been asking on the podcast for viewers' photographs of this building as it is built, and we've received some beautiful renditions of this model built. I'm putting the names of the builders underneath as I show you these 2 gas stations images that we received on our What's Neat this week Facebook page. So thank you very much for that. Also, Joshua Barton built one of these for us, and this one he built up as a rendition of a Sugar Fire restaurant with all of the fixins and all the areas out there for folks to sit. And Mike Buddy also built one for us. And of course, Mike put his little magic into it. He built it as an abandoned gas station, all boarded up. But the fact is, this is a wonderful building great for kids. Again, this is the building that I started out with. The little hands, the little fingers. When I was 8 years old, my uncle got me this kit for Christmas. Finally, they got something I needed. And in fact, I had a whole 6 Plasticville buildings in the kit, the house and the grain, coal thing, all sorts of things. But the fact is, you know, it's the kit that we start with. And I just thought it would be kind of fun to do a segment on that this month. And if there's anybody else out there that's got visuals of this kit where they've built it, please send me some of those photographs. You can send it to the What's Neat This Week Facebook page. It would be great because then we would share that on the podcast more than likely. I also want to say that I went through some of the prototype books that I've got down here, a lot of books on Route 66 and a lot of books on gas stations. And I did find a few photographs that I'll share with you. They're relatively close renditions of this kit because in fact this kit was probably based on a prototype, and I'm guessing this kit came out in the 50s. So with that said, it was kind of fun, a neat little project, and I wanted to share the visuals with you. Just because it's Plasticville doesn't mean it won't lend itself to being a very cool, nostalgic gas station on your layout. And so with that said, be sure to check out what I just mentioned earlier. That is the What's Neat This Week video podcast that we shoot down here every Saturday night, keeping you updated on a weekly basis on what's going on in this, the best hobby in the world, with special guests, a lot of new products, just all kinds of fun. You never know what we're going to do on a Saturday night. And so with that said, we will now continue on with the rest of this August 2025 What's Neat. For this segment of What's Neat, I'm with Tom Thompson, and we're standing in this beautiful Santa Fe layout. I mean, an absolute work of art. He calls this the Albuquerque Division, the 3rd District, and I want to tell you what, he pays very close attention to detail from what we can see here in this basement. It's great to have you on the show, Tom. You obviously have a passion for this hobby.
For sure.
Tell us where that passion comes from.
Playing on the railroad tracks.
So you've been a rail fan your life.
That's where I started.
And you caught this bug where you just wanted to recreate what it was you saw.
Well, you know, once you get that feeling for rail and ties and the trains going by, some people catch it and it sticks with you.
I know, right? And there is no vaccine for that. Starting on this layout, you've got some magnificent scenes that are all familiar to us Santa Fe modelers, plus your passenger trains and all the freight cars and the rolling stock that I see in these freight trains. So we're going to walk through some of that. Well, let's start with this beautiful bridge on the end of the layout over here. That's called the
Canyon Diablo Bridge.
That's right. And you built that out of, I guess, styrene. How was that constructed?
That was a award-winning model. Gene Winstick built it.
Okay.
And it was donated to the Elmhurst Model Railroad Club. But they didn't have a place for it. So I adopted it.
Oh my gosh, that's a great story. It fits well the way you built it. It looks prototypically accurate. Plus it appears you also have the old pilings for where the old bridge used to be.
Yeah, there was 3 bridges.
Right.
And I have the pilings for the 2nd bridge.
Cool. Now, judging from all the car cards around your valance, this is obviously an operating layout. So you love the passion of operation. Why don't you tell us about what an operating session is, how long it lasts, and how many people are involved?
Well, it's usually 16 to 20 people. And we have a fast clock and an employee timetable. We do timetable and train order. We have a dispatcher. There's no signals on the layout. There are some, but they're basically static. And we run all the trains that the Santa Fe ran. And the next couple sessions will be June 8th from noon to midnight. So we have all these trains behind you staged for that session. So all the passenger trains and the freight trains will run.
When you say June 8th, you're talking June 8th, 1954, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
That's really neat that you've picked that era to model. Why did you want that era?
Well, I started in 1953,
Okay.
and I guess one of the first books I picked up was a book on passenger train consists. And I started reading that thing, and it was mostly, it didn't have very many pictures. But after a couple of years, it kind of grew on me. And so I got interested to see if I could do some accurate trains, the consists, the passenger trains. And I looked at the way they change. They change from year to year. So it's not the same every year. 54 is different from 53.
That's absolutely true, and they changed from season. The holiday trains were longer then, obviously, right?
Right. And I learned some things building this layout. I learned that the passenger fleet fleeted westbound after noon, almost every passenger train, except the fast mail. They were all going west. Fast mail was going east through Arizona. And in the morning, it's the opposite. So there are all the trains right there. They're ready to go. All right. So this is the Super Chief, and next to it is the Chief, and next to that is the San Francisco Chief. Next to that is the El Capitan, and then is the Southern Grand Canyon train number 23. There's two sections of this train. And then next to that is the northern version of the Grand Canyon, number 123. There's also two sections. And then next to that is I think it's the Salt River Express, and then two Red Ball freight trains. So those are the trains in Gallup today. There's a Y that goes into staging, so that there was actually a tour train that went into the Grand Canyon overnight and returned the next day. So we run that train. Well, the first thing I did was fix up the basement, because I didn't want to feel like I was going into a basement. I wanted to feel like more I was in a house or something. And that took about 3 years. And then I originally planned this layout to be just a single level, because I didn't know how popular it would be, or if it would be popular at all, to host op sessions. So I just built enough so that it was good to model with.
Yeah.
And so I invited some people over, and it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun operating, and I decided to add on.
Yeah. Before you were telling me about this volcanic ash mine and how you actually have it animated for loading the cars.
Yeah, that's at Winona. There's a cinder pit there where they extracted cinders, and they originally used it for ballast on the railroad and other railroads too. It's just a black cinderish powder. And nowadays they ship it to Phoenix, and they make cinder blocks out of it for landscaping.
Yeah, outstanding. And it's fully animated. We can even watch it actually loading a few cars here. So one of the amazing features on this layout.
Now let's talk about the layout. I see it looks like you've spent a lot of time with a lot of bench work to begin with. You've got a lot of double deck sections and great wide radiuses. Why don't we start with the track? What kind of track did you use, and what code rail?
Atlas Code 83.
Okay, and you like that for the aesthetic reasons?
It's got a good price, easy to work with, and it was readily available.
Now, about how many square feet do you have down here?
About 2,700.
Okay, that's a lot of track to clean and a lot of scenery to clean. How often do you have to actually dust it?
Too often.
I know, right? That's always been.
Sometimes, if you operate more, then you clean it less, because operating cleans the rails.
Okay.
It's just that I'm busy doing other things, and I haven't had time to operate as much as I'd like.
Another thing that you do well are your backdrops. How did you go about some of these beautiful backdrops?
Well, I took some pictures out in Arizona. I took a trip out there and took some pictures.
Okay.
And I worked in a company that had a large format printer. So
wow.
when I wasn't busy, I printed out some pictures and experimented. So that was kind of fun. But I lost access to that printer after a while. So.
Okay. Now, during an operating session, do you enjoy yourself operating with your cohorts, or are you the dispatcher?
I don't do any of that. I'm a troubleshooter.
Okay.
I have a dispatcher, and people ask me questions they don't understand what to do. So I'm just here to answer questions, troubleshoot problems,
Okay.
whatever it is. It keeps me very busy.
Do you have a favorite part of your layout?
I suppose it would be Canyon Diablo.
Okay. Beautiful structure. Another thing I noticed, and we talked about this earlier, you got the color of your rocks right. How did you do that? That's so hard to do.
I think it's golden paint. You know, golden paint brand will get you there.
Okay.
They got the best paint, as far as I'm concerned. But chalks too. Chalks.
Now, do you weather your freight cars, or do you keep them relatively clean? Because I know you're focused on scenery. Are the actors that run through your scene weathered?
Yes, a lot of them are,
Okay.
but not all of them at this point.
Okay.
Still a lot to do.
Now, is sound something new for you, or is this? Because I hear a lot of Elcos down here.
It's completely sounded. So I've started with sound, and it took me a while to get sound and everything, but pretty much everything has sound at this point.
Right. Now, of all the DCC systems that we see out there all the time, I've seen Digitrax and NCE, so many. You've used Easy DCC. We've all seen the ads for that. Tell us how you like that system.
It's a very simple system. I got 816 wireless throttles, and it'll take 8 more plug-in, which is plenty. You don't really need anything more than that.
No, you're absolutely right. It's amazing. It's just not something that I see a lot of, but seeing it in use down here makes me a believer. It's really kind of nice that you've got that.
It
So,
works.
have you been featured in any of the model press with this beautiful work of art?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I want to thank you very much for sharing this with the viewers of the What's Neat show. We want to make you proud and show this off to the world for you.
Fantastic.
Tom, thank
Let's
you very
go.
much. And guys, that is this segment for What's Neat. For this segment of What's Neat, I would say this is more like the mad science experiment, but I have taken the spray booth apart over there, and I've got the motor sitting right here on the workbench, and I'm going to clean the fans. And what I'm doing is I'm going to mount this, which was mounted on the back of the spray booth. I want to mount it outside. I want to put it back outside. Now, I used to have this motor outside previously in a white enclosure that worked out really well. But when a storm destroyed the rear window on the property, then I knew it was time to move the blower back inside and put it back on the spray booth where it belonged. Because in all reality, it really does suck out fumes very well that way. Never had a problem before. And it's very easy to get to the squirrel cage blower inside and clean the fins. So being as I've got the spray booth apart, I've been thinking about ways. And I look back to my early years when I built my first spray booth before I built this wooden one right here, which I've been using for a good 35 years now, and it's held up really well. But to be economical and make a simple spray booth for simply evacuating out the paint fumes. You know, a lot of people just take a fan and they like to put it up next to their window if they've got a window in the shop, and they've done it that way. I was thinking about these motors. I was at the Home Depot when I was getting ductwork for this spray booth here. And I found this motor, 160 cubic feet per minute, little 6-inch fan. And it's essentially similar to the design of a bathroom ventilator fan. And it fits in line. So being as I've got my pipes out, I thought, why don't we experiment with this and see if this creates enough air velocity to suck the wind out. I've got a little switch on it. I can just simply turn it on. And it's relatively quiet. So I like that. So now what I want to do is hook up the spray booth. And the experiment has always been in the past that you simply hold up a piece of paper over the front of the spray booth, and if the paper waves inward, that means you've got enough airflow to evacuate paint fumes out of the room. And the fan that I took off of this is my third one that I've had over the last 35 years of using this booth, I always get them from Granger. I found them in the Granger catalog. It was a great size fan. But that thing has lasted it just works so well. So now what we're going to do now is I want to hook all this back together and see what kind of airflow I get. The fan previously that we talked about was evacuating, I believe that was a 600 cubic feet of air per minute, which was just perfect for airbrushing over the years. But I want to see again, is it an economic thing where somebody could use one of these simple little fans and evacuate the air? The only major concern I would have is having an open motor like this, where the paint fumes, if you're using a lot of lacquer-based paint fumes and there's any kind of arcing on that motor, that could cause a flash fire in my opinion. But that's what the furnace filter is for on the spray booth, is to catch most of the particles. But again, it's the vapors. So that's the only hesitation I would have about using this. But let's just see what happens with regards to airflow. Okay, I've got the air ventilation system now connected to all the plumbing on the back of the spray booth here. I put in a 90-degree angle, and it's just coming off of a simple flange onto some flexible tubing so I can roll the spray booth out and angle it at a different angle in the event that I'm painting something larger in the middle of the space here. Now let's get down to airflow. Now the ventilator that I had on it was between, I believe, 600 and 800 cubic feet of air per minute. I've got a furnace filter in here like you're supposed to have so that it'll catch the particulates of paint as the wind would bring the paint towards the filter. That's the first catch, to keep it out of the blades of the squirrel cage blower. Now, let's talk about airflow. Generally, when I measure airflow, I simply hold up a piece of paper. And I want to grab a piece right now to the front of the vent. And the point of this is that the paper would then curl inward because of the airflow. Okay? And I don't have any movement on this paper at all. Now this is 160 cubic foot of air movement is what the fan is. The only thing I think I can do here, and this is not for children to watch, is to take some smoke and illustrate the airflow. I know this sounds crazy, but now with the smoke, you can plainly see in the light here that the smoke is being drawn towards the fan. It is being drawn towards the filter, but ever slowly. So if you're trying to make a smoking area, this might be perfect. The whole point of me moving the fan outside to begin with was to make it more quiet in here. When we're having a conversation while I'm painting and shooting video, I found that the spray booth tended to be very loud and it was hard to talk over the spray booth when I was shooting videos. But it's also hard to talk over when I've got friends down here. Sometimes we're gonna smoke a cigar or two, and you want that smoke to evacuate out of this basement. I don't want that all over everything. And this 160 cubic feet of air a minute isn't gonna do it. So what I need to do is go ahead and remount my spray booth motor. I'm gonna put it outside so it'll be quiet, but I'll have great suction for actually airbrushing and painting. And I'm gonna actually go ahead and do that, show you the process of that. Because I'm looking forward to getting this accomplished. So let's see what happens next and how it works out. One way that this smaller fan system will work is, see, as I've got this connected to the wall, the fan unit is right here in the wall, plugged in, and it's running. And I've simply got this piece of aluminum tubing here. So what you could do is take a tabletop and put a cardboard box on the end, or build a small wooden enclosure, something small, because this has got enough air volume. See this piece of paper trick again? Where there's enough air volume here that any type of paint fumes would definitely evacuate your small space. So a person in an apartment or a person that, hardly ever uses an airbrush, but you're doing it on an inside situation, just simply make a cardboard box enclosure. Something that'll at least allow the area immediately to evacuate. You could put a filter in front of it to catch the particulates so they don't end up getting into your piping. And that would make a reasonable airbrush type of a situation for somebody who wants an instant paint booth. So I'm going to use this temporarily right now to evacuate like cigar smoke out of the room. And until, as we continue on with this video, I need to mount the main blower outside, and let's see the difference that a real blower makes, again, when you're painting. So after removing the blower housing from the back of the spray booth, I've started to build a box for it. And it's a simple enclosure that's 15 inches tall and about 10 inches, about 12 inches in diameter square. And on one side of it, I cut the hole and mounted the blower with the mounting screws. This is how I've always mounted it to the spray booth. And what I'll do is I'll take a piece of pipe, the flange, I've got one here, one of these type things, and I'll probably put magnets on it is my idea. And it'll just clip on from the hose. It's going to be going from the window to this unit that'll be sitting outside. And because the unit's going to be sucking the air, I don't have to worry about any air pressure. I think magnets would do just fine as long as I build a waterproof lip on top to keep any seepage from getting into the unit. So what I'm going to do is complete this box, and I put some small legs on it that's going to extend it about 7 inches from the dirt, of which I'm going to put a cement bed in of about 3 inches. So that'll hold it firm in the cement with a gap so I can clean leaves and things like that out from underneath it. And I'm probably going to put a window screen underneath it. Just staple some screen underneath this so that wasps don't get up inside of it and start building their nests in the summertime. So let me just continue on with this, and we'll set it up outside and make the spray booth on the inside for painting just a lot quieter. It'll be better. Continuing now with moving the spray booth motor outside, I've created this box now. I've got the blower fan on the inside mounted. I've got some 7-inch legs sticking out the bottom. I put a 6-inch dryer vent on here where the air will blow this open as it blows out. This is where I'm going to attach the pipe coming from the window, from the house. I'm going to attach the pipe to this, and I put some magnets all the way around this metal edge. And I also put a piece of metal around here, a circle. It's kind of attached with this foam double-sided tape. But this will just connect right on there. So that means I can get inside and clean the fins on the fan as they start to fill up with, crud, which they do tend to do. You've got to be able to get in there and clean them. On the other side, I've built a vent, or an 8-inch vent, and I take this off, I'll be able to oil the motor. The oil access is right there. So the whole purpose of moving this outside is to make it quieter. For example, on Saturday nights when we shoot the podcast, some of the gentlemen like to sit in front of the spray booth and smoke a cigarette. Well, it makes so much noise. Next thing you know, the TV's turned up. Then you get on the phone or you're trying to talk, you just can't. So I'm going to move this back outside. That's the theory. And I'm not sure if this magnet thing's going to work or not. I'll work on that. So anyway, this goes outside now and gets cemented into the ground, just outside the window. Okay, with the spray booth motor now in its enclosure, moved outside. This is extremely functional. I can tell you it's quiet. When we shoot the podcast inside, you don't even hear it when we're evacuating any cigar smoke out of the room. But this box that you saw me build now, I put a vent on top of it. I put screens on everything to keep the insects out. I lift off the top, and inside is a spray booth motor, clean as can be. I put magnets on this grate here, so I can pull it off at a moment's notice, as one magnet just popped off. But then I have access to oil and maintain the motor in its compartment. Also, another thing I did with the pipe evacuating from the home, I used magnets so that I could simply pull this off in the event that I want to service everything. And then the magnets allow it to clip on a metal ring right back into place on the spray booth motor here. So a lot of improvements to move this noisy motor outside of the property, to make it a little bit more enjoyable inside if you're working and you're evacuating the air inside at the same time that you're working, especially when you're airbrushing and you just want to get those fumes out. So a lot of different ways in this video to do it. We've seen the small fan from the Home Depot that evacuates just enough to make a nice little box airbrush for the occasional weekend warrior that wants to paint something once in a while. And then the more efficient system coming off the inside on the spray booth motor, putting the squirrel cage motor outside, it's just beneficial. And so with that, that's this segment for What's Neat. All of the products seen on this episode of What's Neat are available from Lombard Hobbies in Lombard, Illinois, or order online at lombardhobby.com. And by Broadway Limited Imports, the cutting-edge leader in model trains. Check out their website at broadway-limited.com. Bachmann Trains. Now that's the way to run a railroad. Check out their website at bachmanntrains.com.